This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Tuesday morning. I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have you on board. On the show today, we're going to be joined by Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com. Of course, based down in Maryland, the Racing Biz covers racing news from the Mid-Atlantic region. But Frank, we're going to touch with him as he is based down in Maryland and go back and recap the two stakes, rescheduled stakes that were run this past Saturday down at Laurel. They were supposed to be run last Saturday, but of course, snowstorm snowed that out, but rescheduled and run on Saturday, the Campbell and the Fritchie. We'll talk a little bit about that recap with Frank Vespi. A little later on, Gary Johnson from Beulah Park. We'll get some of his thoughts for Beulah Racing on this Tuesday afternoon. Same scenario with Michael Chamberlain. We'll get some thoughts from him from Turf Paradise for this Tuesday, but we'll also go back to Saturday with Michael Chamberlain because they had a couple of stakes out there at Turf Paradise on the weekend, the Arizona Oaks and the Turf Paradise Derby as well. So we'll get some thoughts recap-wise also. All of that coming up on this Tuesday edition of Racing Across America. Buyer figures for some of the weekend stakes races. The most notable buyer figure, and I'm just looking down, well, a couple of notables. There was a couple of triple-digit buyers in the stakes races that were notable. And for comparison's sake, we'll do it that way. There was the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream, the Risen Star over at Fairgrounds. Intense Holiday, the Risen Star winner, a 97 buyer figure. Over at Gulfstream, Wildcat Red, a 101. And at the list they put out in the Racing Forum of the stakes winners buyer figures from the weekend, that was the best, the 101. However, there was one more triple-digit buyer figure, again, comparing Gulfstream to Fairgrounds with the 3-year-olds, this time the 3-year-old girls, Only for You winning the Devona Dale. And I thought, I was impressed with the Devona Dale just because Only for You, now 4 for 4 in the career. She has won outside of Gulfstream, started her career up at Aqueduct and got a win there. So I think 4 for 4. I think she's going to be a player in the division. If you heard Loose on the Lead on Sunday, my partner Steve Bick, who was down at Gulfstream on Saturday, not as impressed with Only for You, given the time of the race, which comparatively was not super impressive, and buyer figure-wise, a little light as well. 84 buyer for Only for You, winning the Devona Dale at Gulfstream. On the flip side, the 3-year-old girls over at Fairgrounds and the Rachel Alexandra, Untappable gets a nice 100 there. So again, Untappable, as I said earlier on the Handicappers Report, putting together the Equidaily page and just looking at what the pundits have been saying over the past couple of days since the weekend. Untappable may be getting a little bit of interesting buzz coming out of the weekend. On the 3-year-old girls side over there, she was a little bit impressive. So there were some of the buyer figures over the weekend. As I noted on the end of the Handicappers Report, the Kentucky Derby Future Pool 3, and again, typically, in past years, this would have been Future Pool 2, but we had the 2-year-old pool towards the end of last year, so that kicked things off. This is now Future Pool 3. It kicks off this week on Thursday. Don't forget, like to remind people, because it is brand new, and maybe if folks don't play in those first couple of pools, but look to jump in now, keep in mind that things have changed up this year as far as the closing. The close is on Saturdays now, before the 3-year-old races go off. So the pool this year will open Thursday at noon and will close before post time, just at post time of the Gotham in New York. The Gotham is scheduled to go off at 4:17 on Saturday. So the close is earlier than usual, and in fact, much earlier than usual. The past few, the last pool, and the one before the 2-year-old pool, the Saturday races were typically going off a little later in the day even, but since this is New York, and given the time of year, 4:17 will approximately be the closing time for the pool on Saturday, the Kentucky Derby Future Pool. Morning line odds, again, all others at 6-1 is the morning line favorite. Of the individual entrants, Cairo Prince is at 8-1, as is Top Billing. Tapiture off of the Southwest win the other day, 15-1. Intense Holiday off of the win on the weekend, also 15-1. Interestingly, Wildcat Red wins on the weekend, but 20-1 there. And I mentioned earlier, the longest price on the morning line, Uncle Si. Uncle Si is entered in the Gotham on Saturday. So, and coming off of the nice race last time down there, Uncle Si and Samrat Bing Bang in it. Uncle Si may be a little bit interesting. Samrat himself goes off at 30-1 on the morning line. Shared Belief at 12-1. Boy, that would be tough for me to pull the trigger there. Honor Code at 10-1. There are some of your shorter prices. Albano at 30-1 off the nice second place finish on the weekend. Be interesting to see how that one plays out as we go along. If that starts to float up, he could be a little bit interesting. Bayern at 15-1. That's a little too light for me. Conquest Titan, though, at 30-1 is interesting. Candy Boy at 20-1. I have a feeling that just looking at the pundits and where they're putting them, I think Candy Boy will float down a little bit. General A-Rod at 20-1. Kobe's back 20-1. Christo Noble Moon 30-1. Strong Mandate at 20-1. Tamorando 30-1. And that's one I will like to see where the betting public goes to over this weekend, because it just seems like maybe he's a little more synthetic meant. Tamorando. So where will the betting public go with him? Because I think he has talent, but I'm not sure talent that translates to the dirt track at Churchill's Down. Vickers in trouble at 30-1. So again, it'll be fun to see how these numbers shake out as the pool progresses over Thursday and Friday and into Saturday. Kentucky Derby Future Pool 3 kicks off this week, and the Oaks Pool is happening this week as well. Same scenario. It'll open Thursday at noon. This one, however, the Kentucky Oaks Pool, will close with post time of the Santa Isabel at Santa Anita, which is going to be about 6 p.m. But if the race hasn't gone off by 6, the pool will close then. So it's the post time of the race out at Santa Anita or 6 p.m., whichever comes first. But again, that's Saturday, so it's a little bit different than in previous years. And the shakeout here is a little bit interesting on the morning line. Untappable off of that big performance, which we just talked about, earned the 100 buyer figure on the weekend. Untappable at 6-1. Co-choice with All Others. All Others also morning line 6-1. Only For You coming out of the win at Gulfstream on Saturday at 8-1. Got Lucky, who ran decently, 30-1. So here there may be a little bit of some prices that are kind of interesting in the Oaks Pool. But boy, Untappable off of the weekend win certainly looked very, very good. So again, both the Kentucky Derby Future Pool 3 and the Kentucky Oaks Future Pool happening this weekend. They'll kick off Thursday at noon and close Saturday before their respective 3-year-old races on the boys' side, the Gotham, Santa Isabel out at Santa Anita on the girls' side. And the Jockey Club Tour on Fox kicked off a couple of weeks ago with the Don. The next scheduled race was supposed to be the Dubai World Cup, but Santa Anita Handicap has been added to the Jockey Club Tour on Fox. It will be an abbreviated broadcast, but coming up March 8th on the Fox Sports Network, 7 to 7:30 on March 8th, they will pick up the Santa Anita Handicap. So that's nice. Nice addition to the series. We were talking a little bit about it yesterday, in fact, on the Handicappers Report with Anthony Mormino. He was talking about wanting maybe some more of the important 3-year-old races in, like why didn't they feature this weekend's races? And I had Jason Wilson from the Jockey Club on a few weeks ago before the inaugural broadcast of the tour. We were talking about it, and clearly they want to add more races to it next year and even more another year out. There will be a really full schedule, I think, in probably 2016, much fuller even next year in 2015. They just wanted to get the series started, so they kind of took what was out there and made some sense for this year. But now with them adding a race in the mix, maybe we can expect a little more of this for them to add another race or two here or there as this season goes along. We'll see. But again, it's going to be an abbreviated broadcast. The original broadcast a couple of weeks ago was 90 minutes. This one's only going to be a half an hour focus on the Santa Anita Handicap. But again, Mucho Macho Man will take charge, and the nice rematch out of the Breeders' Cup Classic will certainly attract a lot of attention and be a real highlight coming up there on the edition of the Santa Anita Handicap, the Big Cap, on the Fox Sports Show. All right, I got some races here that I wanted to look at in the opening segment, some weekend stakes, and also I wanted to go back and first up, I have the finale on Sunday. Just because we talked about it, we watched it yesterday. We watched the Saturday finale at Gulfstream, which was that DQ and cost one better, the Rainbow Six. The winner would have paid the one better, the Rainbow Six, of over $1 million, but the disqualification meant that a number of people shared the pool. That one better who had the ticket didn't get his $1 million, a very tough beat. That was a tough beat on a DQ, but I wanted to show the stretch run from Sunday as well, the finale, and as they went into the finale, they noted there were 6 or 7 horses alive for single Rainbow Six tickets. So there was 6 or 7 tickets alive. I think it was 7. It may only have been 6. But there was a number of horses alive. And as I said earlier on the Handicappers Report, that indicates to me that this pool will probably be hit sooner rather than later because the whales are clearly jumping in. When the first horse in the sequence on Sunday was a $54 horse. Third race in the sequence paid $41. Get a couple of prices like that, and you still have 7 live tickets in the last race. That again, that says that some of the whales are jumping in. But I would remind you, it's up over $1 million again tomorrow for a 20-cent base bet. You got to jump in because now they're pulling out of a 6-figure pool, even if they're consolation tickets. So it's worth maybe putting something together and taking a shot, hoping it's a little bit logical and this thing progresses for a few days before somebody does hit it. But it's worth taking a shot at. But again, yesterday we looked at the DQ. I just wanted to look at Sunday's stretch run. We'll see here. The number 3, Mr. Baker, will get the lead late in the stretch, passing the number 11, Get in Line. Number 3, Mr. Baker, would have paid the whole pool. There would have been one ticket. Not so for the number 11. You see the number 11 in the lead here. Number 3 is going to go up and pass. How many times in the stretch run does one horse pass another, and then the horse that got passed makes a nice comeback? And you have to think if you had the 3, you had the winning Rainbow Six ticket. But no, the horse comes back. So it was really 2 days in a row that a couple of bettors really had victory, defeat snatched from the jaws of victory, and in situations where the winning ticket would have paid well over $1 million. So a couple of tough beats there, both on Saturday and Sunday in those Rainbow Six races. Also wanted to take a look at a couple of stakes races from this past weekend that otherwise we wouldn't have had a chance to take a look at. Just a couple of interesting horses. And first up, we're going to pull up the stretch run of the stakes race on Saturday at Tampa. That was the Super. It was a 7-furlong event for $100,000, 4-year-olds and up. The winner here is going to be the number 5, Double Play. Double Play comes out of this race with a 98 buyer figure. And Double Play is kind of interesting. Last time out in the Grade 1 Malibu, runs 6th. Prior to that, they tried the Grade 1 Clark in a mile and an 1/8. And this horse just now ships back over to Tampa and tries this little $100,000 stakes race and really does it pretty convincingly. So with a nice class relief after a couple of Grade 1 efforts, our Double Play gets it done as the 6-5 favorite. But again, just seems like they got a little bit ambitious with this guy in the last couple of starts. No harm there, but you wonder, the Clark and the Malibu, they were shooting for the stars. Those are a couple of salty stakes races. Moves back to maybe the proper level, and our Double Play gets it done, again, with a nice 98 buyer figure down there at Tampa. And again, another horse that was a little bit interesting on the weekend, the Canadian Turf down at Gulfstream Park. We'll watch the stretch run here. It'll be the number 5 Reload, winning under Javier Castellano, part of his 6-win day over the number 1 Online. But notable here, Reload goes out for Shug McGahee, who has been so interesting with his turf horses over the past, it's been going back a while now, but even the last 6 months really seems to step it up. The number 5 Reload is interesting because this horse just moved over to the turf for McGahee in the last start. Now 2 for 2 on the turf. So it took him a while. Took him, 16 starts to try this horse on the turf, and he's now 2 for 2, including a nice Grade 3 event Saturday, the Canadian Turf down at Gulfstream Park. So again, Shug McGahee with another interesting turf runner. Took him a while to figure it out, but now as we progress along the year, it will be interesting to see how Reload does. He's got a Grade 3, and I'm sure they'll continue on picking their spots in stakes races, and we can probably even expect to see this one up here in our neighborhood come summertime. Being in the Shug McGahee barn with the Phipps, we'll look for this one maybe to be on the grass and some stakes up at Saratoga. But in the meantime, there will be plenty of opportunities, and they seem to have they've found the home on the turf for Reload. All right, just before we go to the break, do want to mention, talked a little bit about Saturday and the Gotham down at New York. Do want to mention there's a nice little stakes card down there. They will also be running the Tom Fool. That's the return of Strapping Groom. Strapping Groom missed the toboggan last time out, but he will make the comeback. This is the horse that won the Forego up at Saratoga and seemed to be in some really good form then, and just could not put it together in 2 or 3 starts after the Forego. But last time out, middle of December, seemed to regain the form in the Gravesend. Nice buyer figure, nice win there. So Strapping Groom now getting back to the races again after having missed the toboggan last time. Strapping Groom's interesting. Winner of the toboggan, Candyman E, is also going to be in that Tom Fool on Saturday. Also the Top Flight for older fillies and mares. Team Pauline, again, kind of a similar situation maybe to Strapping Groom in that this is a horse that at one point, not exactly the same scenario as Strapping Groom, but at one point Team Pauline early in her career looked like she was going to be something special and then just couldn't quite get over the hump and really prove that. But the last couple of starts, she seems to have come to form. Now, these are stakes races over the inner track in the winter at Aqueduct. So we'll see how things shake out going forward, and as the year progresses, and maybe she gets moves against a little bit tougher competition. But the Top Flight on Saturday, inner track, winter stakes race, so you would expect she'll be competitive in there. And then finally, again on Saturday, it is the Gotham. The Gotham is going to be a very fun race. They have a nice full field, and I think it's going to be very fun and competitive. Grade 3 event. $500,000. This is a Derby points race. The winner gets out with 50 Derby points. And the horses in here that will attract a lot of attention. Obviously, Samrat and Uncle Si coming out of that ding-dong battle in the Withers. But Financial Mogul could be very interesting. Financial Mogul comes out of a 6th place finish in the Holy Bull. But the Holy Bull, the winner was Cairo Prince, who's gotten a lot of buzz and is at the top of a lot of polls. Conquest Titan, who ran so well against the track bias. But Intense Holiday was 3rd in that Holy Bull. He comes back this weekend and wins the Risen Star down at Fairgrounds. So will this Holy Bull shape up to be maybe a little bit of a key race? Financial Mogul was 6th in there, but it's going to be interesting to see how well he runs on Saturday in the Gotham. Noble Cornerstone, who was so promising in the first couple career starts, including the close-up 2nd place finish in the Springboard Mile, tossed in the dud in the seasonal debut for Wesley Ward and the Sam Davis down at Tampa Bay. But Noble Cornerstone, will he rebound? He'll be an intriguing story. Classic Giac and Roll, who tossed a dud in the Withers, but otherwise was pretty good earlier in the career. And Harpoon comes up off the nice 2nd place finish in the Sam Davis. And in fact, the Sam Davis, if you don't remember, was a couple of Pletcher horses. Vince Ramos just won over Harpoon, but a lot of people thought with the closing effort, Harpoon was actually the better runner in there. Now Harpoon comes north, worked out just the other day with a bullet out down at Palm Meadows, but Harpoon comes up for Todd Pletcher to try the Gotham in New York. So again, that Gotham shaping up to be a very, very fun and competitive race. All right, a nice weekend at New York. We'll talk a little bit more about that as the week progresses. Right now, however, we'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk with Frank Vespi, get a little recap on that stakes action down at Laurel over the weekend, the Campbell and the Barbara Fritchie, all of that right after this.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Happy to be joined now by Frank Vespi of the RacingBiz.com. I'll remind people, if you want to know about racing in the Mid-Atlantic region, stop by the RacingBiz.com, get all the racing news from that area. Frank himself based down in the Maryland area, so I thought we'd reach out to him, get a little recap on the Laurel Stakes from this past weekend. Good morning, Frank.
Hey, good morning, Seth.
And why don't we get right into it? These are rescheduled races. We had a little weather problem up in the Northeast about a week and a half or so ago. So a week ago Saturday, the races were canceled. That's when these were originally scheduled. The comeback redrawn races were a little bit different. Part of that was some problems over at Park. Some horses couldn't get out of there. Over in the Fritchie, some horses just decided to go in other directions. So the fields shook up a little bit week to week. So we wound up with a small field in the Campbell, but you and I were talking during the break. We're going to watch the stretch run here. Small field, but a very exciting race. As we watch the stretch run, it will be the number 4 Behemoth at 11-1, second longest price on the board, over the 30-cent to $1 favorite managed account. There was certainly a lot of attention given to managed account, understandably so. A nice third in the native Dancer last time. This is a horse that has been bouncing around competitively in stakes company, but Behemoth will make a run at the wire and just get up. And Frank, I looked at the RacingBiz.com and read your recap of the race. And number 4, Behemoth, ridden by Victor Santiago. And it seems like Victor Santiago really put in his money's worth for this race as he was huffing and puffing heading back to the jockey's room.
Yeah, I mean, he really earned his money here. I mean, this horse, Behemoth, Behemoth is a horse that I think most people expected would be, not too far off the pace. Most of the way here, he's in last place. And Santiago's got him under a drive from, at least the 3/8 pole, and I'm not seeing, didn't see how much of the stretch run you had, but you can see when they hit the quarter pole, he's already hitting them with the whip, and Centron on managed account is pretty much sitting chilly still. So he gave everything he had, and he asked the horse for everything the horse had, and by a nose, it was enough. And after the race, we had a picture on the Racing Biz. I mean, you can see Santiago is completely wasted. He's given everything, and he got off the horse and started to walk to the jockey's room, and then had to stop, and he was bent over double, and everybody rushed over to see if he was okay, and then kind of staggered off to the jockey's room. It really, I don't know that I've ever seen a jockey as sort of fried at the end of a race as he was. He really tried hard, and he really gave a good effort there.
Yeah, and again, it was a horse that second longest price on the board, and just by a nudge, wasn't the longest price on the board, beating the 30-cent to $1 favorite. Again, short field, but a very fun race out there at Laurel on the weekend. Let's shift our attention now out to the Barbara Fritchie a little bit later on the card. Grade 2 event, $300,000 on the line, going 7 furlongs. And Frank, I talked with Andy Serling yesterday on the show, and we were talking a little bit about jockeys and just how it seems like jockeys in the 21st century do not like to get out there and really take command or duel early. That clock in the head seems to be a thing of the past. But Andy mentioned shipping into Laurel for Mike Hushin, Rajiv Marat, on a horse, My Wandy's Girl, who typically will sit back a little bit and stalk from a little bit back in the pack. But Rajiv kind of knew that he couldn't let La Verdad get away. So we'll see a number 4, My Wandy's Girl, up there really duking it out with La Verdad, as he did for most of the trip. And then in the stretch duel, My Wandy's Girl, having given La Verdad a little bit of a run for her money, My Wandy's Girl will get up and win this. Number 4, My Wandy's Girl, over number 3, La Verdad. Number 1, Centrique, will run third as the 9-5 favorite.
Yeah, I mean, and this was another exciting race. I mean, with the 16th to go, there are 3 shots to win here. My Wandy's Girl, La Verdad, and Centrique. And I talked to Rajiv after the race because, like you, we assumed he'd be sitting third, say, 2 or 3 lanes back, and instead he's right up on the engine. And he said that Mike Hushin had said, and he agreed, that this is a horse with a lot of fight in her, and she's going to be best if they get her involved right away. And he figured there's no other speed, so the way to get her involved was to go right up after La Verdad. And as they round the turn in this race, they get to about the head of the lane, and you think, My Wandy's Girl's done here. La Verdad appears to have stopped her and appears to still have plenty in the tank. Centrique is coming up on the outside and looks like she's full of run, and you think, it can't be My Wandy's Girl. And Rajiv said that's what he thought, too. He said for a second there, I thought she was giving me everything she had, and there just wasn't going to be any more. But then when she switched leads, she found a little bit more and gradually pulled away. So it was an astute, I think, handicapping job by Hushin and Rajiv, and a good ride by him, a heady ride by him to put this horse in the spot she needed to be in, because clearly if she'd been 3 lanes back, hitting the head of the lane, she wasn't going to catch her.
So a couple of New York invaders, 1-2, Hushin and Linda Rice, My Wandy's Girl, and La Verdad. The horse that I found interesting was the Wolfson horse, Centrique, because I always think you have to pay attention when Marty Wolfson ships out of town. And that one comes up, and as you noted, really a furlong out, it was wide open between any of those 3. So it was a nice third-place finish from that one as well, and what was, again, a couple of small fields, but a couple of really fun races.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, you lost a couple, as you said, because of the park's quarantine and schedules and stuff. So you lost a couple out of the Fritchie, but this was not the greatest field we've seen for the Fritchie, which has drawn some really, really good horses over the years. But it ended up being a terrific race, a really exciting race where, My Wandy's Girl looked to be done and still found more. And this La Verdad had been just cleaning up against Allowance Company up in New York. And she looks like she could still be a really nice horse. There was nothing wrong with the effort she gave here. And then Centrique is another hard hitter. So it was, as you said, it was really a fun race.
Yeah, a couple of nice races. Again, even though things shook up a little bit with the reschedule and the redraw, a couple of nice races on the weekend. Frank, want to touch on you with another topic. Pulled up a recap of this on the racingbiz.com. Maryland Horse Breeders Association recently released their Horse of the Year and various categories for 2013. The venerable and one of our favorites, Ben's Cat, an unprecedented 3rd time as Horse of the Year down in Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, he's just something, isn't he? I mean, somebody was joking with me on Twitter that when he retires, people will demand a retired Maryland-bred Horse of the Year, and so he could win that too. And they might be right. Everybody loves Ben's Cat, and there were a couple of nice horses in that group. I mean, you had Delaunay, who in the middle of the year looked like he might be the best sprinter in the country, and then his year sort of ended at that point. And Richard Kidd, obviously, at the end of his career, a couple of pretty nice Maryland breds, but Ben's Cat is really something, and he just continues to do it. I mean, he had about the same year last year as he's had the year before. He's won, I think, 24 out of 37 starts, and when he comes back this year, there's every reason to think he'll be just as good. I mean, his last race in 2013, when he won the Fabulous Strike over Rebo Bobo, who had won 8 or 9 in a row at that point. So he looks like he's probably just about as good as he ever was.
Yeah, and he's got that style that's very easy to root for, too, where it makes it exciting every time. And just running down some of the other divisional winners, champion older female, Bold Affair, champion 3-year-old filly, Walk with a Purpose, 3-year-old male, Grateful Nation, champion 2-year-old filly, Jones for Jerry, and champion 2-year-old male from 2013 in Maryland, my buddy Joint Custody.
Yeah, I mean, Joint Custody had a really nice year. There were sort of two-year-old males that you figured it had to be either him or Donnie Barr's horse, It's a Bang, who had actually beaten Joint Custody twice, but then was injured and missed the latter part of the season. And Joint Custody really blossomed in his last couple of races. Jerry Robb trains both the champion 2-year-old male and the champion 2-year-old filly, so he could have a lot of fun this year going forward. And so it was, it's nice to see these kinds of awards. I don't know how much the world cares about these things, but I think it's always nice for a state breeding industry to sort of celebrate the best thing that's done in the last year.
Yeah, it's certainly, because there's a lot of time and effort put into that by these farms and all the people involved. And I see you're one of the voters for these categories. I'm a voter up here for the New York Bred Awards, and I take it seriously. And I tell you sit there and you pour over the past performances and pull up some racing replays, because I think it is very important to all the connections to be honored at the end of the year when they put together some pretty good years.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, and yeah, you do take it seriously, and you want to get it right, and it's a big deal to folks. I think it absolutely is, and so some years there's controversy because you chose this horse over that horse, but it is a nice award. It's a nice notch in people's belts when they get a horse that can be the champion state bred horse, and you really, and I'm sure you see it even more in New York. Sometimes you don't realize how good some of these horses are. You kind of look back and say, wow, that horse did all that. I didn't quite realize how good he was.
Yeah, exactly, because they sent the package to me, and there were a couple of categories where I really had to, and there were some nice New York breds this year too that went out and did very well. Discreet Mark, for instance, in open company, and so there was some nice horses, and I'm sure it's very much the same. Well, with Ben's Cat, it's much the same down in the Maryland area as well. Frank, as always, we appreciate the visit, the recap of the action at Laurel. I'll tout people again if they want more racing news from the Mid-Atlantic region. TheRacingBiz.com is the place to go. But again, Frank, thanks for the visit. We'll talk to you again.
Many thanks, Seth. Always good to chat.
All right. Frank Vespi, again, from TheRacingBiz.com. We'll take our next break. When we come back, Gary Johnson of Beulah Park. Stay tuned.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free, interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night School in the Buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today. Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Tuesday morning. We're happy to be joined now by Gary Johnson of Beulah Park. Good morning, Gary.
Hey, good morning.
And I know you're going to kick things off for us and get us off to a good start on the early pick four this afternoon. But before we do that, give us a little weather update for your area.
Our weather, we're hooking a little bit of snow, not very much, but temperatures are around freezing. Well, actually a little bit below, but I'm looking at race time, around freezing. So looking for a day like yesterday, which really weather didn't play a part in it.
All right, sounds good. And again, the early pick four at Beulah kicks off in race number 1, and we're going to look through the first few races here, give you some ideas to maybe start off that early pick four. The opener today at Beulah, calendar condition claimer at the $3,500 level. These are fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. They'll go 5.5. What were your thoughts on the first?
Yeah, my thoughts on the first here, I like the number 2, Uneven, another turf race shipped in. I mean, these horses have been doing really, really well. And we're taking Bug Boy Woolley off and putting Edgar Picar on, which I think is huge, huge rider change. And not only that's a class relief, and we're going to go against the 5 horse, 7-5, that seems to get overbet all the time and likes to run second.
Yeah, Edgar Picar, I certainly been on to him in that region for a while now. Whenever he's riding, you got to pay extra attention. All right, second race today, Plain Vanilla Claimer at the $5,000 level. These are 3-year-olds and up. This time they're going to go a mile.
They're going a mile. I see a race here with not a whole lot of speed. Kind of having a tough time finding out who would go to the lead. But the number 5 horse, Shine for Steve. Now, he's been really trying to overrate this horse. I mean, he did win going long 2 starts back, but really has some natural speed. And I think if a guard decides he wants to lead, he's definitely going to get it and probably could steal this race. So I think Shine for Steve is going to be a pretty nice price. Could pull a little upset here.
All right, and I'm just looking. Yeah, I've been going a mile the past few. Yeah, all right. So a little pace angle on Shine for Steve. 8-1 on the morning line, and so we may get a little value there. And again, this is all part of this early pick four, as is race number 3, obviously. Conditional claimer, $4,000 tags, non-winners of 4 lifetime. The condition, 3-year-olds and up, they'll go 5.5.
Yeah, I don't think there's a big surprise here. The 3, Elia Rain, is the only speed and comes out of a key race. What I mean key race is a few of these rivals came back to win their next start, including the winner who had won 3 in a row, and a horse called Worth winning a 5th place finisher in that race. So I really think Elia Rain with a switch to Edgar Picar will go the lead by himself, and I look for a wire-to-wire thing. And that probably is the key today in the pick four.
All right, so we've got a logical horse in there. In the second race, we got maybe a little bit of a price to juice things up. So got folks off to maybe a little bit of a start in that early pick four. Gary, also want to touch on, see if you have any opinions. Nice weekend of racing across the country, particularly Gulfstream and the fairgrounds. We had the Fountain of Youth and Wildcat Red and General A-Rod put on a good show over at Fairgrounds in the Risen Star. It was also a nice stretch run with Intense Holiday and Albano. Anything appeal to you as far as the 3-year-olds on the weekend?
I'll tell you what, my most impressive, personally, was this Top Billing overcoming this huge bias. I mean, he's trailing the field, and he came out to finish 3rd in the Fountain of Youth, a race that I think was really speed biased. It's just unbelievable that 2 horses ran head-and-head the whole race, and don't take nothing away from them, too, but Top Billing with the trip he had, I believe, is still going to be one of the strong contenders down the road here.
Yeah, and again, he was going against a bias, so it'll be interesting to see where Shug goes next time out. He said may stay for the Florida Derby or may go to the Wood. And you would have to think, given his style, the Wood and Aqueduct is probably the better choice. But what was notable in that arena is Pletcher and Starlight Stables made that decision this weekend. They left Gulfstream to go over to Fairgrounds, and Tense Holiday got the nice stretch run to win the Fairgrounds, the Risen Star there.
Yeah, that is the truth, and Intense Holiday did have the stretch run, he got up by a nose, but I believe if he would have stayed over in the South Florida, he would have probably had the same thing, one of those going by horses at the end because of the bias, but he made himself a contender. I mean, Pletcher's got him lined up. I thought Commissioner was kind of a disappointment there, but he'll just go to Plan B now. He'll have a bunch more.
And then earlier on the card, how about Normandy Invasion on the comeback?
That was impressive. I mean, going down the backside, I thought, this could be one of those bridge jumper at beat stories. But boy, he was impressive. I mean, that's good to see though, because you want these kind of horses, or I do at least, to see competitive, older horses. I like to see them all the old champions come in and really, they're going to make some good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. He adds another interesting name to the handicap division that already is kind of interesting. Lee, Will Take Charge, Mucho Macho Man, and now Normandy Invasion could be a player as well. And Gary, before we let you go, obviously we talked to you quite a bit as you're a regular contest player now. Have you been in any recently, or you have any contests lined up?
I do have one lined up. I'm a lucky guy. I'm in here in Ohio with all this stuff. I'm heading to Santa Anita.
Nice.
I'm leaving Thursday morning for Santa Anita. There's a contest over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to it. It has been a bad winter, as you know.
Yeah, no question about it, and we'll catch up and find out how you did. We certainly wish you good luck on the contest, and as I say, next week we'll find out how things shook out for you. Do you know which tracks you're going to be focused on?
It's going to be, I'm up against my worst track, Santa Anita only. It's a live money tournament. You must bet Santa Anita. It's a two-day tournament, and but if I'm going to do what I do, I guess I have to get better at it. But yeah, Santa Anita's been a little tough for me, and see what I can do over there.
I'm in the same boat. I play Santa Anita in the wintertime, and I enjoy it, but I typically do a little bit better Fairgrounds, Oak Lawn, Tampa. Santa Anita, I struggle a little bit as well, but maybe you get out there, you're live, you'll plug in, and so we'll wish you luck on the weekend.
Seth, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it gets a little worse. I'm going to be doing the handicapper Saturday in the paddock show with Tom Quigley.
Oh, nice.
So that's really going to be some pressure, because I'm going to handicap Santa Anita races. I mean, but.
All right, well, we will fire up the simulcast signal and check that out then. Gary, as always, appreciate the visit. Good luck on the weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Seth. I'll talk to you next week.
Gary Johnson from Beulah Park. We'll take our last break of the hour. When we come back, Michael Chamberlain, as noted, he'll take a little look at action from this afternoon, but also they had a couple of stakes out there on the weekend, the Turf Paradise Derby and the Arizona Oaks. We'll recap those right after this.
I'm Jeff Carl. Join me Saturdays and Sundays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the weekend in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekends at 9, only here on the OTB TV network.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Very happy to be joined now by Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise. Good morning, Michael.
Morning. How are you?
Very good. Before we get to a little recap of the past weekend, give us a little update on the weather this afternoon out at Turf Paradise for folks who are going to play.
Well, it's going to be very nice today. It's supposed to be in the 80s, and the sun is shining, so we're expecting to have maybe a little cloud cover coming over a little later, but I know later in the week we're expecting to get some rain potentially for Saturday, so we're not sure about how it'll stack up for this weekend, but today we're expecting to be just fine.
All right, sounds good. And again, a couple of nice stakes races on the card last Saturday. Before we get to this afternoon, I just wanted to recap those early on the card on Saturday. It was the Arizona Oaks for 3-year-old fillies, and we're going to watch the stretch run here. It's the number 6, One More Wild Ride, getting it done as the second choice at 7-5. Idling under Scott Stevens surprises a little bit, completing the exact at 11-1. The 6-5 favorite, Lazy Daisy May, will run third. But again, as we watch the stretch run, it will be the number 6, One More Wild Ride, getting it done. And Michael, how does the betting public out there let a Robert Diodoro, first time off the claim from Santa Anita, get away as the second choice?
Well, you know, in all honesty, it was only a 5-horse field, but it was still a tough little betting race because you had Lazy Daisy May, as you mentioned, the favorite is a horse by Rocky Barr, who has done some very nice things already this season. And Molly Pearson was the trainer of that one, Giovanni Franco aboard. And there's certainly no slouches either out here. And you also had a Darley horse named Afsana that is trained by Owen Hardy. And whenever a Darley horse trained by Owen Hardy comes in here, Ann Von Rosen rides that one. So it wasn't necessarily a walkover or an easy betting race for anybody, even with the Diodoro Carreño combination there on the winner. They certainly had some options to look at, and while the Diodoro horse did go up and win very nicely, it certainly wasn't anything easy to try to figure out.
Yeah, fun little race. Only 5 in there, but as you said, with some shippers coming in from out of town, add a little bit of intrigue there. But boy, you know, you look at a Santa Anita-based horse, first off the claim for Diodoro. You always got to pay attention out there at Turf Paradise. Even I have learned that at this point. A little later in the day was the Turf Paradise Derby, $75,000 on the line for these 3-year-olds, going 1 1/16. We're going to watch the stretch run. It will be the number 6, Lots of Mischief, getting it done as the 2-1 second choice. Lawley's Goal, the number 1 horse, will run second, and the even money favorite, My Rochester, will run third. My Rochester, a Diodoro horse, so they made this one the favorite, but they picked the wrong one to make the favorite, as this horse will run third. But again, it will be Lots of Mischief. Last time out, a nice win on the turf in an optional claimer at Turf Paradise. So it was making a turf to dirt move, coming off a nice bullet workout, and Lots of Mischief under the hot apprentice. But I'm assuming in the stakes race, he didn't get the apprentice allowance in this particular race, but still a nice ride to win off by over 3 lengths.
That's correct, and actually the best thing I thought about that performance was the fact that My Rochester actually came to Lots of Mischief and delivered a pretty stout challenge there at the top of the stretch. And My Rochester is a horse that has won a stakes race already this season. He won the Lost in the Fog Juvenile back in December. But Lots of Mischief just turned away that challenge and just pulled away through the stretch and won very impressively under Skylar Whiteshield, who is a very good rider. He has had a lot of really great moments so far this season here at Turf Paradise. He's clearly our leading apprentice, but as you said, he doesn't get that apprentice allowance in the stakes race, but he still put forth a very nice performance on this colt to win nicely. And Lawley's Goal rolls up for second under Jake Barton, a very good veteran Turf Paradise rider as well, to beat out the favorite My Rochester for the place spot. So an interesting race there as well, because Lots of Mischief did have a little bit of pace pressure early on, and a lot of the field was quite spread out. It wasn't an easy lead that he got, but once he got it, he just kind of took off.
Yeah, and Lots of Mischief, as the name may indicate, by Into Mischief, who continues to be a very interesting sire, particularly a 3-year-olds over the past couple of seasons. All right, Michael, let's shift out and take a look at today's racing at Turf Paradise. You got a couple of ideas for us, and on the handicapping show earlier, I also did Turf Paradise, and in the 6th race, which is a 6,250 claimer, 7.5 furlongs on the turf, I took a little shot with 7 Tough, thinking, I just have a feeling this one is kind of primed to break through off of the past couple of starts. Just had a look to me of, as I say, being ready to get to the winner's circle off of the nice improving effort off of the past 2. So I put him on top, but I have your horse right underneath in the 2nd spot.
Well, believe it or not, those are the 2 that I like in the 6th race also, but I ended up going with the 9, Give It Junior Mint, who has won the last 2 times on the grass at today's claiming level, that $6,250 or $6,250 claimer with the Arizona-bred $8,000. And this horse won the last 2 times at the $6,250 level and did so quite nicely on both occasions. Tried to jump up in claiming company last time out on January 25th and ended up winning 5th out of 5. Really didn't have a good performance. You get a rider change to Drayden Van Dyke here, speaking of an apprentice. I know he's been doing some work over in California, but he comes over here during the week and runs here at Turf Paradise. And he has won a couple of races already this season and put up some nice rides as well. And the other thing I like about Give It Junior Mint, especially in relation to 7 Tough, is the buyers from those 2 wins at this level were 73 and 73, which is very comparable to the number 7 Tough put up with 74 and 74 and running second at the same level in his last 2. So I went with the 9, Give It Junior Mint, but I really think those 2 horses are the cream of the crop there in the 6th race today.
So maybe we've got a little bit of an exacta box going. Out in the 9th race today, conditional claimer, 3,500 tags, non-winners of 3 lifetime. They will go 3/4 of a mile. And Michael, if you could see my page here, I have your selection down in the 4th spot, but at one point I had it in the 2nd spot, at one point I had it in the 3rd spot. I wound up 4th, and I did it with all 4 of my top selections in here. I was kind of going back and forth, and I have X marks and X marks. I wound up going for Unusual Mystery. Just at that last looks like a little bit of an aberration to me, and I think if this horse can get back to those prior efforts, this will be the one that will be up there in the hunt, but I don't jump on that one with a lot of confidence. I had Northern Smoke and Mitch's Halo in the mix as well, and then as I say, I had your horse down in the 4th spot, but that was after much changing up of things. So again, give us your thoughts on the 9th race.
Well, my top pick is the inside horse, number 1, Can Chaco. Ran with non-winners of 2 company at Portland Meadows back in January and just aired, won by almost 7 lengths. And won very impressively there. Then tried to run in a starter allowance kind of handicap race that was restricted to Oregon breds. Didn't do so hot there. Ended up getting off to a bad start, and kind of was a toss in that whole effort. But then the horse came down here to Turf Paradise after that and posted a kind of a slow workout on February 2nd, a stronger workout on February 9th, and then a bullet workout on February 15th, going a half mile in 46 and 2. I think that workout progression is something to keep an eye on, and you also get Ann Von Rosen in the saddle here for trainer Jonathan Nance. I agree with you. This race is very competitive, very interesting, because I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of hoping for a scratch of one of my pick 5 plays a little earlier in the day so I can use the 9-horse Unusual Mystery. He was kind of the one horse that I had to leave out of the whole sequence, so I'm kind of hoping that I can I get to use him a little bit in that last race as well, because I ended up having to be so packed in a couple of the earlier races, and I ended up singling the 1-horse Can Chaco. And I'll say I like the horse a lot, but I'm not comfortable with a single, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, and as indicated, I have no argument with folks going for that number 1 at all. And I focused on a lot of the same things you did, particularly that bullet work, which indicates that this horse is good to go this afternoon. So Can Chaco certainly scares me a little bit. Michael, before we let you go, asking everybody this week, because again, it was another nice stakes weekend, particularly over at Gulfstream and Fairgrounds. And I know you, like a lot of folks, pay attention to the 3-year-old scene. What jumped out at you, either Fountain of Youth or Risen Star?
I thought that the Risen Star was a little more interesting race. I like the 9-horse Intense Holiday, that performance that he put forth. That 1-horse Albano really wasn't going away, and he just wore him down and ran into him right at the wire and got him at the stretch. And so I got him right at the wire, I should say. And I really like that performance, and I'm going to be interested to see how he goes forward into the Louisiana Derby and the final prep race there at the Fairgrounds. or if they even send him over to Oklahoma to try his hand over there. I haven't seen what the exact plans are for him yet. But I think that was the best performance of the weekend as far as the 3-year-olds were concerned. The Gulfstream race, I thought that track ended up being a little bit speed favoring on Saturday, so maybe you didn't get to see the best of a horse like Top Billing, who still ran a decent third. I'm looking to see what happens maybe on Florida Derby Day as far as the Gulfstream performers this time around.
And I talked at the top of the show about the Gotham this Saturday at Aqueduct, and there's a horse I will be interested to see. That's Financial Mogul. Comes out of a 6th-place finish in the Holy Bull. That's notable because Cairo Prince first, Conquest Titan second, and Intense Holiday was third. So I think that performance on the weekend by Intense Holiday flatters both Cairo Prince and Conquest Titan. But I wonder if we're now defining that Holy Bull as maybe a little bit of a key race. So I think Financial Mogul in the Gotham could be a little bit interesting.
I think that Gotham race this weekend is going to be very intriguing because there's a horse in there that I also am kind of keeping my eye on. I want to see how he ends up doing in that race, and that's Extra Sexy Hipster, the Trombetta horse that is going to be ridden by Pimentel. I want to just see it. It's a Pennsylvania bred, and he probably isn't going to do anything much going forward on the trail, but I just want to see him get out on the track once here this season and see what he does. I'm just kind of interested to see. He may deliver a price in this spot and possibly do something that we're not expecting.
That's interesting because at the top of the show, I went over some of the horses that I thought would be interesting in that race, including Financial Mogul, obviously Uncle Science, Samrat, Noble Cornerstone, Harpoon. I didn't mention Extra Sexy Hipster, but as you mentioned this one, went down to Laurel last time, won the Miracle Wood, but prior to that won the Don Rickles over this inner track at Aqueduct. So he could float up and be a little bit of a price, as I kind of ignored him, but he is a little bit interesting from Trombetta. So Extra Sexy Hipster. I'm glad you tossed that one into the mix. Michael, as always, we appreciate the visit. Good luck this afternoon with your selections, and we'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
All right, Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise. A little earlier, it was Gary Johnson from Beulah. Kicked things off with our guest, Frank Vespi from theracingbiz.com. That's going to wrap things up for Racing Across America for this Tuesday morning. We're here every Monday through Friday from 10 until 11 a.m. A little bit earlier every morning is the Handicappers Report. This morning it was Mike Jarbo and myself. Hopefully we gave you some good information. So as always, have a little fun watching the races this afternoon. Cash a few tickets. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.